Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I still remember the sound of the tennis ball hitting the court that afternoon, sharp and clean like a challenge thrown into the air. And I remember thinking how strange life can be when it decides to put all your secrets on display in front of a crowd that thinks it already knows who you are. That day started like any other for me, with an early alarm, the quiet routine of a man who has learned to live small, to take up as little space as possible, to keep his head down and his past locked away where no one could point at it. I put on my janitor's uniform, the same faded blue one I wore every day, kissed my sleeping daughter on the forehead, and promised her I'd be back before dinner. She mumbled something about homework and tennis practice. And I smiled, because tennis was the one thing she knew about me that didn't fit the rest of my life. The place I worked at was a private sports and business club, the kind where glass walls and polished floors made you feel like you didn't belong if you weren't wearing the right shoes or speaking the right language. My job was simple: clean the courts, empty the trash, wipe away the marks left behind by people who never thought about who came after them. I was invisible there, and I liked it that way. Being invisible meant no questions, no pity, no curiosity about why a single dad was mopping floors instead of chasing some bigger dream. What they didn't know was that I'd already chased a dream once, and it had cost me more than I was willing to lose again. That afternoon, the club was buzzing more than usual. There was an exhibition match scheduled, something flashy to entertain members and guests, and everyone was talking about the CEO who was hosting it. She was famous in that world, a sharp-tongued, fearless woman who had built her empire with confidence and controversy. I'd seen her before from a distance, always surrounded by people laughing a little too loudly at her jokes, always moving like she owned every inch of space she stepped into. To me, she was just another person whose mess I'd clean up after. I was sweeping near one of the main courts when I heard her voice clearly for the first time, ringing out with amusement and challenge. She was teasing someone about the match, joking about how boring it would be because no one there could really give her a challenge. People laughed, clapped, fed into it. Then she said it, loud enough for everyone to hear, her eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on me, the guy in the janitor uniform standing off to the side. "Tell you what," she said, her smile sharp and playful. "If anyone here beats me in tennis today, I'll marry them." The laughter exploded. Whistles, jokes. Someone shouted something about lining up. I felt my ears burn as her gaze stayed on me just a second longer than necessary. Then she added, with a mocking tilt of her head, "What about you? You look like you could use a promotion. Beat me in tennis and I'll marry you." The crowd roared again, louder this time, because the idea was ridiculous. A CEO marrying a janitor, it was comedy to them. I felt every pair of eyes swing toward me, judging, measuring, dismissing. I could have laughed it off, bowed my head, gone back to sweeping like I always did. That's what I'd trained myself to do. That's what keeping secrets teaches you. But something inside me stirred, something old and stubborn, something that remembered early mornings on cracked courts, remembered the smell of fresh balls and the weight of a racket in my hand. My daughter's voice echoed in my mind, asking me once why I never played anymore, why I only watched from the sidelines. I looked up, met the CEO's eyes, and for a moment, the smile on her face faltered, just a crack, like she sensed something she didn't expect. "I don't have a racket," I said calmly. The laughter dipped, confused. Someone handed me a spare racket, still chuckling, still sure this was just a joke. The CEO raised an eyebrow, clearly amused that I was even entertaining the idea. "You serious?" she asked. "As a heart attack," I replied, and I heard a few surprised murmurs ripple through the crowd. They cleared the court quickly, people eager for entertainment, phones already coming out to record what they thought would be a quick humiliation. I stepped onto the court, feeling the familiar give beneath my shoes, the lines sharp and clean. I took a breath, rolled my shoulders, and for the first time in years, I felt like myself again. The CEO bounced the ball a few times, still smiling, still confident. She served first, a strong, fast serve meant to end the point quickly. I moved without thinking, muscle memory taking over, my body responding before my mind could catch up. I returned the serve cleanly, deep into the corner. The crowd went quiet for just a second, surprised, before laughter bubbled up again, assuming it was a fluke. But it wasn't. Point after point, rally after rally. The laughter faded. My shots were precise, controlled, and patient. I wasn't flashy, but I was solid, consistent, relentless. The CEO's smile slowly disappeared, replaced by focus, then frustration. She pushed harder, took risks, but the harder she pushed, the more mistakes she made. And with every point I won, the silence grew heavier, the crowd starting to realize this wasn't a joke anymore. Between points, I caught glimpses of faces in the stands, jaws slightly open, phones lowered as people forgot to record and just stared. I heard whispers, questions, disbelief. "Who is this guy? Where did he come from? How is this happening?" We switched sides, and I felt sweat trickle down my back, my heart pounding not from exhaustion but from adrenaline. I wasn't playing to embarrass her. I was playing because it felt right, because it reminded me that I was more than the role I'd been wearing for years. When the match ended, the score wasn't even close. I'd won in straight sets. The final ball landed out on her side, and for a moment, no one said anything. The court was frozen in a strange, stunned silence. Then the crowd erupted, not with laughter this time, but with applause. Cheers mixed with shock and awe. The CEO stood there, hands on her hips, breathing hard, staring at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I expected anger, maybe embarrassment, maybe another joke to brush it off. Instead, she laughed. A real laugh this time. Not mocking, not performative. "Well," she said, stepping closer, "I guess I should start wedding planning." The crowd laughed again, but there was a different tone now. Curious, excited. I shook my head slowly. "I think we both know that was a joke," I said. "I just wanted to play." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "You're not who you pretend to be," she said quietly, so only I could hear. That was the moment I knew my secret was about to come out, whether I wanted it to or not. After the match, people swarmed the court, asking questions, offering congratulations, trying to get close to the man who'd just shattered their assumptions. I slipped away as best I could, heading back toward the maintenance room, hoping to change and disappear before things got even more complicated. But the CEO followed me, her heels clicking against the floor, determination in her stride. "Wait," she called out, "I need to talk to you." I stopped, sighed, and turned to face her. Up close, she looked less intimidating, more human, curiosity softening her sharp edges. "What do you want?" I asked. "I want the truth," she said. "No janitor just walks onto a court and plays like that." "Who are you?" I hesitated, years of habit telling me to deflect, to lie, to walk away. But something about her tone, about the way the crowd had looked at me, made me tired of hiding. "I used to play professionally," I said simply. "A long time ago." Her eyes widened slightly. "Used to?" I nodded. "Injuries, bad timing, life. My wife passed away. I had a daughter to raise. Priorities changed." She leaned against the wall, absorbing that. "And now you clean floors here." "I need a job that lets me be home for dinner," I said. "That's enough for me." She was quiet for a moment, then smiled, softer than before. "You embarrassed me today," she said. "I didn't mean to," I replied. "I know," she said. "That's what makes it worse and better." Over the next few days, the club buzzed with rumors. Someone had dug up old footage, grainy clips of matches from years ago, interviews with a younger version of me, full of fire and ambition. My secret was out. People looked at me differently now, some with admiration, some with pity, some with that uncomfortable curiosity reserved for fallen stars. I didn't like it, but I couldn't undo it. The CEO didn't let it go either. She started showing up when I was working, striking up conversations, asking about my daughter, about my life now, not the one I used to have. She invited me to play again, just for fun. No audience, no stakes. I almost said no, but my daughter convinced me. "You smile when you play," she said. I liked that smile, so I played. And slowly, tennis stopped being a reminder of what I'd lost and started being something new, something shared. The CEO and I talked on the court, between points, about pressure, about expectations, about how lonely it can be at the top and how invisible it can feel at the bottom. We laughed, argued, challenged each other in ways that had nothing to do with rankings or titles. One evening, after a long rally under the fading light, she sat down on the bench beside me and said, "You know, when I said that thing about marriage, I was mocking you. I'm not proud of that." I shrugged. "People mock what they don't understand." She looked at me, serious. "I'd like to understand you." And that was how it started, not with a bet or a joke, but with honesty. We took it slow, careful, mindful of my daughter, of the gap between our worlds. The tabloids tried to spin it when they caught wind, painting it as some fairy tale or scandal, but we ignored the noise. What mattered was the quiet moments, the dinners at home, the laughter on the court when no one was watching. The crowd that had frozen that day eventually moved on to the next spectacle, the next headline. But for me, that frozen moment had cracked something open. It reminded me that I was still capable, still worthy of being seen, not for what I used to be, not for the uniform I wore, but for who I was right then. And every time I step onto a court now, racket in hand, my daughter cheering from the sidelines, I think back to that mockery disguised as a joke, and I'm grateful I didn't sweep it away like I swept everything else, because sometimes, the thing meant to humiliate you is the very thing that sets you free.